Hello, folks, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Joe, to Love. Free agency frenzy is a must and a miss as we gear towards the new league year and free agency a month before the draft. It's the exciting part of the off season, keeps us on our toes right before the drafts, or still a month away, but very fun moves as people are ooh and ah about their favorite teams, and of course, some of their favorite players, seeing where they go. It's always interesting, but we're going to talk about some of the moves made thus far. Teams, I think, who have won free agency thus far, which we'll get into. Going to talk about basketball news as well as UFC stuff as well, but nonetheless, you're here. Thank you for joining me today on the program and the channel, the podcast. Yeah, let's get going for sports review topics. So, first, I want to talk about basketball news, NBA news, as very key contributor into one of the top teams currently in the NBA has taken a blow. As Karl Anthony Towns, Cat, bless me. But Karl Anthony Towns, who's been having a solid year thus far for the Minnesota Timberwolves, reportedly tore his meniscus the other day and is now out for at least a month for the Minnesota Timberwolves. It is a definite blow for the Timberwolves as we are close to playoff time in the West. And how crazy, because it's a fight amongst the top four teams in the West between Minnesota, the Clippers, Denver, the reigning champs, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's crazy how things can change on a dime, as before they were sitting pretty. Well, I wouldn't say pretty, but they were sitting steady as the number one seed in the West. And now all of a sudden they are third, and currently, as it seems, tonight's game against the Clippers is a must-win. Now, they've only gone 2 games with them, and they've gone 1-1. First beat the Pacers off a great block by Anthony Edwards. And yesterday, or actually 2 days ago, they lost to the Lakers, and which wasn't the previous night. They didn't have Rudy Gobert, didn't have Kyle Anderson, but it's certainly going to be a shift going forward, because with Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, you have your 2 big guys. Obviously, Towns is a much better scorer than Gobert, and Gobert is a better defense player, but that takes one of your big guys out. And with Gobert, as we saw, didn't play against the Lakers, it shows they have to play more small ball, in which it kind of feeds into now Anthony Edwards is going to get more double teams. So now it's a question of who's going to be the next guy to. Now, Naz Reid, who's been underrated this year, he's definitely going to have to step up. And we saw most recently in the last 2 games, he's got more touches and he's done well. But it's certainly those that presence of Karl Anthony Towns is certainly going to be a weird contributor for the next month. Now, Minnesota is still a playoff team, and they could probably still win a series without Towns, fearing his injury. But as far as making a deep run and really contesting amongst those fellow 3 teams at the top of the West, it's very dire that they get Karl Anthony Towns healthy for the playoffs, because against Denver, against now Oklahoma City, they're still very young, but they've been very good this season amongst their trio of SGA, Chet Holmgren, Josh Giddey, the Williams duo. They've been stout this season. So, I mean, Minnesota, we'll see. Like I said, tonight they played the Clippers. It's a dire matchup for both. And a key one, certainly. Now let's move over to the East a little bit. I want to talk about a team. First of all, last week I talked about the Celtics and lo and behold, I jinxed them a bit, because literally right as the video was loading, next thing you know, they lose to the Cavs. Now the Cavs have been a tough team this year, and they're currently number 2 in the East, but it's been weird. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, they've had injuries, a number of injuries this year, or a number of missed time this year. And then they go and wind up losing to the Denver Nuggets in what was a competitive game for the majority of it, but Nuggets pulled away. Jason Tatum did not have a good game. Jaylen Brown did, but it wasn't enough. But another team I want to shed some light on, the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic, in a way like the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're a young core or inexperienced core that, prior to their last 2 games, yes, they're on a 2-game losing streak. They went 7-1. They're currently the 5 seed in the East, and I don't think they're much like the Knicks. They are a team that's rising, and yes, they haven't gotten much credit as the Knicks, but they are certainly a team to watch out for, and especially with the 76. There's a lot of unknown in the East, I think, or a good amount of parity, because we know with Boston how good they are. And the way it seems, they're projected to be in at least the Eastern Conference Finals, if not going to the Finals, representing the East. But you got the Knicks, who have been doing very well. You know, with Joel Embiid's injury, it's only possible they miss the playoffs because they keep teetering, the 76ers. You got the Heat, who have been up and down. Now, correct. When it comes to playoffs, that's a different story for Jimmy Buckets and crew. But when you got them, Milwaukee Bucks have been odd this season. Have been odd. But as far as other teams, you know, the Magic, Paolo Banchero has done a stout job in his third season, averaging just under 23 points a game. He's been stout. Karl Anthony, Wagner, and others, Ingles. But I mean, yeah, you got a fair amount of unknown in these, and it's interesting. But yeah, team to watch out for is, or team that's on the rise certainly, is the Orlando Magic. And it's good to see, because the Orlando Magic, they did make the playoffs. In last time they made the playoffs, I believe, was 2020. And that was with Vucevic. Or they may have just made the play-in. Either way. But nonetheless, that's the deepest they've been in a while. And really since Dwight Howard was with the franchise. So, I mean, it's very interesting to see. Another guy who's gone under the radar and has been doing a solid season in his third year out of Turkey, Alperen Şengün, who has had a very, very quiet but very good season on a Rockets team which spent a good amount in the offseason to repair in Houston. Stop me if you've heard it before, but Houston has a problem, as unfortunately he has sprained his right ankle, and we'll see. Like I said, he's been very stout this season. Now, yes, they are the 11th seed. They are a couple games back of the Lakers, so they still got work to do as far as getting a chance to be in the play-in. But I mean, sucks. Hopefully he doesn't miss too much time. He's been a shining light for Houston, certainly this season. Alas, we'll see. UFC 299 was certainly unique. Had its fair share of drama and good moments. Want to say this because she got her moments for UFC 299. Joanna Jędrzejczyk will join Frankie Edgar and Vanderlei Silva this year, as they are, or as she is, reportedly going to be the newest member of the 2024 UFC Hall of Fame. I mean, great for her. You know, it's like Ronda Rousey, yes, she got the love for being the first real, champion, and for the women, and when they were moving over with having the women fight and everything, and she brought attraction from Strikeforce, and now she's here. But Joanna Jacek, considering she was, yes, the strawweight division, the lightest women or lightest division in the UFC. New division, how it shaped out. Yes, people give or take with how the women fight in the UFC, but she was a trailblazer in a way for the women in the UFC, because she really took over, starting with beating Carla Esparza at UFC 185 to become women's champion. She went on a long and good reign as strawweight champion before, it's like she had a presence about her. She had a very skillful way of fighting. And it wasn't until she fought Rose, and it was like first time in MSG, and where she didn't feel almost invincible. She came down to earth, and then, she had a good rivalry with Claudia Gadelha. She had a good few fights with Zhang Weili. I mean, really much credit to her, Joanna Jacek, getting her moment in the sun. Now, being in the UFC Hall of Fame. But as far as UFC 209 goes, the fights, we had some interesting live fights. First, on the main event of the prelims, we had Hilton Almeida coming on a 15-fight winning streak, ranked number 7 versus number 5, Curtis Blades. A key matchup in the top 10 of the heavyweight division, in which Almeida said that he would call out Tom Aspinall, the interim heavyweight champion, if he had beaten Curtis Blades. Well, he didn't even get the chance, as Curtis Blades fished him in the second round. It looked like, it looked like perhaps Blades may have caught him with a straight right, but either way, Almeida shot him for a takedown, got him up against the fence, and Blades adapted to the moment. You know, trying to take that big guy down is certainly a challenge. But Blades adapted. He landed some stiff hammer fists for a while, and eventually Almeida curled up. Blades had a few more shots in, and that was it. Cursed Blades, interesting. Now, he's in a weird spot, obviously, number 5, and obviously, well, the UFC obviously wants Jon Jones and Stipe to fight. And Jon Jones, he got hurt, so that kind of took a blow to plans, and we'll see how much longer he's out. But clearly that's the plan for them, for the UFC. Heavyweight title fight. Now, you got Tom Aspinall, who's current heavyweight champion. You got Sergey Pavlovich, who I believe beat Blades already. But in any event, you got them. You obviously got Sergey, which, Blades has spoken that he doesn't want to fight Gane. So, we'll see. But, yeah. It does suck for him because, he's basically in a weird spot. Yeah. Pavlovich finished Blades, and his previous fight before Aspinall, so yeah. But yeah, he's in a weird spot, so I don't know. Would Aspinall give him just want to check really quick. Make sure that's... Oh, so Blades... Yeah, Blades beat Aspinall before, so he's got bragging rights over the interim heavyweight champion. So, we'll see if Aspinall wants to give Blades a shot. Try to rewrite. Try to get revenge. We'll see. We have a new contender in the UFC 170-pound division, welterweight division, as Jack Della Maddalena finished Gilbert Burns. In the third round. Really crazy sequence how it just unfolds sometimes in the UFC. As Burns looked like he was about to take... It's crazy if you look at the scorecards. Burns, if it lasted towards decision, would have won the fight. Burns looked like he was going to take Jack's back and perhaps coast or do what he can to finish out the round and win the fight. But crazy scramble by Jack, and all of a sudden lands a beautiful knee drops Burns, and then all of a sudden downs him with shots, and just like that, Jack, we have a new contender. This time Aussie, as, yeah, Jack gets the and UFC 299 also saw the debut of one MVP, Michael Venom Page, as he faced off against Kevin Holland, which had its mixed reviews during the fight, but wasn't a pretty fight, but MVP did his job and landed some shots, and certainly felt his rhythm was decent, but in any event, got the win, got the decision, and again, wasn't the cleanest debut for Michael Van Page. He did his entrance in a way was probably more exciting to people than the fight, but did his job, got the win. The Diamond certainly did his job as he knocked out up-and-comer Benoit Saint-Denis. And grand style, Dustin Poirier with a stiff left hand got the job done, and yeah, dropped Benoit, and then what more can say? You know, it's definitely risky when you see these veterans and who have been as good as such as Poirier facing off against an up-and-comer, and then you have to wonder a little bit of a crossroads fight, but no. Poirier stuck to the challenge and came out passed in flying colors. Then the main events. Sugar Sean O'Malley in his first title defense since knocking out Aljamain Sterling to win the UFC Bantamweight title. How would he avenge his first loss inside the octagon? First of all, credit to Chito. Credit to Chito Vera, as he certainly has a chin. Perhaps that beard certainly helped. But, yeah, credit to Chito. He stuck in there, but O'Malley basically outstruck him 2-1. And just great job by O'Malley. Now, people are obviously dismayed about, when UFC gets a new champion they like, they have him vote his next challenge, and perhaps it's not as competitive as it may be, but in the event, it's the next fight, it's the way it is. O'Malley, tough cat, tough challenge, and got the win. Did what he needed to do as UFC Bantamweight champion. Merab Dvalishvili, who, of course, has been on a roll. He beat Aldo, he beat Peter Yan, who also got a victory on the main card. But, He beat those two. He beat Henry Cejudo in his last fight. It's on quite a roll. And he's voiced his opinions about wanting the next title shot against O'Malley. We'll see if that materializes. Obviously, O'Malley called out Yuri Tapora for Spain after his win over Vera. I mean, maybe perhaps soon. But see, it's weird when you play. We see it too quickly sometimes, if I must say. We see it too quickly about double champion fights. You know, it's like a champion moving up, champion moving down before paying attention to their weight class. Now, he did conquer this one challenge, but, you know, and same with Taporia. So, I mean, it's like, we'll see. Any event, quality, UFC 299, UFC 300, it's on the miss. Doesn't feel like UFC 200 is on the up and coming, but we'll obviously get to the card when we get to it. So now, all is out of the way, and let's get towards free agency frenzy as best we can for NFL teams. So, I've gone over and layered out most of the moves from pretty much of all of the NFL teams, so I'll go over most of the moves as best I can and say basically if that team won or lost, or pretty much say neutral, say the same. So first let's go over, so the Patriots did some move. They were a bit busy, but not as busy as some of the other teams in free agency, but they did quality. You know, they obviously they have holes on the roster, but so they signed Antonio Gibson, who we know was a star for a few years with the Commanders, but okay numbers, but as soon as Brian Robinson came to town, that obviously changed, and his production went down. Jacoby Brissett, he winds up back with the Patriots. You know, when, spoiler alert, Gardner Minshew signed with the Raiders, I thought there was a possibility that the Patriots would trade for Jimmy G. I guess they didn't want to give up anything for him. But alas, they signed Jacoby Brissett. And, you know, with having Brissett, having, you know, Bailey Zappi, having the number 3 overall pick, you know, it's pretty likely that they get one of these key quarterbacks, whether it's a Jim Daniels, Drake May. I doubt they're gonna get Caleb Williams, but he's obviously there. JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, unless the list's there. But pro quality, you know, they re-signed Kendrick Bourne. Hunter Henry, Michael Owenu. I think that those are key to re-sign. Key contributors helping for the offense. So yeah, especially Owenu. He's been a steal so far for the Patriots. I would say maybe slight win, but mostly neutral. Jets. They did a decent job in free agency, so you kind of had the feeling that the '49ers were going to have to make a few changes, and they did. They released Eric Armstead, and Javon Kinlaw was then a free agent, which then the Jets signed. If he can stay healthy, we saw signs of upside, but last he has to be LD. Lucky Fotu from the Cardinals, or was with the Cardinals, again, help out on defense. Isaiah Oliver. And then we know with Aaron Rodgers, you have to protect him. That's our number one sign for the offseason. O-line protection. And they did at least address it so far. They signed John Simpson to help on the O-line. And then they also re-signed Greg Zuerlein and Chuck Clark. Key signings. Greg Zuerlein obviously showing he has much left in the tank. Chuck Clark, he's been okay since coming over from the Ravens, but yeah, we'll see. The Bills, I feel like they're waiting on something, or I don't know, but it's weird thus far for free agency. So they re-signed Daquan Jones, and they signed Mitchell Trubisky, but they release a number of starters. They released Mitch Morse, they released Jordan Poyer, who I just read, he just signed with the Dolphins, so he's definitely going to still be seeing them. And Michael Hyde is a free agent, so those two safeties are, or at least temporarily, they were both on the free agency market. I bet Mike Hyde is probably going to go somewhere. But yeah, I mean, Leonard Floyd, he went to the 49ers. Yeah, it's weird for the Bills. They let Gabe Davis go to Jags. I don't know. So, we'll see, but if I say a little bit of loss. Dolphins. At first it didn't look pretty, but like I just said, so they got Jordan Poyer, just signed. They signed Jordan Brooks, so that was a big get for the middle of their defense. They lost Van Ginkel, who's obviously a fan favorite in Miami. He goes to Minnesota. They re-signed Nigel Needham, Elijah Campbell, and they signed Jonnu Smith and Shaq Barrett. So Jonnu Smith put up quality numbers in Atlanta last year, so obviously a helpful target for Tua. And then Shaq Barrett, who hasn't been the same for production the last couple seasons with Tampa Bay, but we'll see. again, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips are obviously the top two pass rushers in Miami. But depth is really important, as we saw with the injuries and against the Chiefs in the playoffs. That is obviously important. Depth for that pass rushing position. The Bengals, some unique moves, I'd say. So, they trade Joe Mixon for a late round pick to the Texans. They signed Zach Moss to basically replace Mixon. They signed Mike Gesicki, which I thought was a key move to help out Joe Burrow. We know how much he loves to throw tight ends. They also re-signed Drew Sample, Aziz Gaylor, and they signed Geno Stone, safety from the Ravens. So, quality, I'd say Joe Mixon hasn't been the same. I'd say more neutral for the Bengals, but very key, very key. Quality moves. The Ravens, too big. They really had. So, yes, they lost Gus Edwards and Devin Duvernay. However, they re-signed to a big extension Justin Madubuike, and then they signed the king, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry to a 2-year, $60 million deal. You know, both happy for the Ravens, kind of disappointed for the Cowboys. Because, yes, this probably made too much sense for Derrick Henry based on interest last year of him going to the Ravens. But, you know, I think we can all agree that Cowboys were one of those teams that we felt had to be aggressive in this offseason. Now, credit the draft. We'll see how they do. But, you know, this Dak's final year of his current contract. No trade clause, no tag clause. I doubt I wouldn't pay Dak even more than what he's making now. And that offensive line, you know, it's like Tyron Smith's a free agent. Tyler Biadasz went to the Commanders. You're eventually going to have to pay now Micah Parsons after you paid CeeDee Lamb. I mean, eventually, and you know, Trayvon Diggs, his deal. It's like, you got a window. It's like, ay. But anyways, so Ravens side the king, very crucial Derrick Henry, we know how they want to run. And yes, they lost Gus Edwards, but Keaton Mitchell, who it obviously sucks for them that he got hurt in the 49ers game on Christmas, but if he can get back healthy, pairing with Derrick Henry, that is a almost match made in heaven for their offense, how they want to run it with Lamar Jackson. The Browns, they had a pretty solid. They didn't do a lot, they didn't make any splash signings, but they relatively stayed the course, and yeah, kudos for them. So, the big one, they trade for Jerry Jeudy. So, for the last couple of seasons, it's been rumored that the Broncos want a second or a first rounder for Jerry Jeudy. They only got Jeudy for a fifth and a sixth. So, that's one. Pair him with Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, etc. David Njoku on offense. So they signed Nakeem Hines to help out Nick Chubb and, Kareem Hunt. It's another scat back. We know they love rotation and how they do their running backs. So, thought that was good. They signed Jordan Hicks, linebacker who was with the Vikings for the last couple of years. Heck of a sign for them. They signed Jameis Winston to a short deal. Who knows if they're going to bring back Joe Flacco to anchor pass Deshaun Watson, but kudos for Jameis. They re-signed Zadarius Smith, Michael Dunn, and Maurice Hurst. So, I'd say neutral, a slight win. By the way, for Ravens, I'd say it was a win. Big win. Steelers, they made some noise. So, they signed Russell Wilson. Short-term deal. They didn't have to pay him much because he's going to be paid by the Broncos over $30 million this season. They signed Patrick Queen. I thought was very good from the Ravens. They released Patrick Peterson, and unfortunately we only have one Watt left in the NFL because Derek Watt, for the forgotten Watt brother of the trio, has retired after 7 seasons with the Chargers. Now the Steelers. Sucks, but kudos for him. Yeah, he's gonna be making royalty money for a while now. So, next up, 1 second. Oops, okay. Next up, the Jaguars. So, interesting. Not much, but if few quality signings, I'd say. So, they traded for Mac Jones. Later on pick for Mac Jones. Backup for Trevor Lawrence. It's funny how the multiple QBs on the same draft wind up on the same team for a bit. Sam Darnold and Baker wind up on the Panthers a couple years ago for a brief amount of time. It's crazy how it winds up. So, they signed Gabe Davis. Presumably, they'll sign Calvin Ridley to an extension because a loophole or a clause in the Calvin Ridley deal with the Falcons. So, if they pay him now, they'll have to owe him a second round pick. But if they let him go, or they sign him tomorrow or after tomorrow to an extension, then it'll only be a third round pick. So, by that nature, may happen. But they signed Gabe Davis. Clearly, when Christian Kirk went down last season, there's a bit of blow in the offense down the stretch. They re-signed Ezra Cleveland. They signed Mitch Morse. And then they also signed Darnell Savage from the Packers. So, some quality signings there. Good stuff. Neutral, relatively. Titans. Some signs, give or take them, if you'd say, but so they signed Kenneth Murray. They signed linebacker crew is there. Lloyd Cushenberry, Chidobe Awuzie, and Tony Pollard. That's the other thing. I like it with the way Spears was playing last year to complement Derrick Henry. And now you have a running back that's similar, and Tony Pollard, to help open up things for Will Levis. Now, they're not as good as Derrick Henry, but I do kind of like it. They're trying to be more spread heavy, as far as the running backs go, and more play action. Texans, so they got Joe Mixon. Turned out to be a trade. They extended Kyrie Fairbairn, Don Schultz. They signed Mike Ford, Tommy Townsend, Danico Audrey. And then the big one that just happened a few minutes ago. I saw on my phone. They signed Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter coming to the Texans, CJ Stroud, rookie deal. Saw the success he had last year. Saw the team making the playoffs, beating the Browns in the playoffs. Got money to spend. Gotta use it. So, yeah, I'd say it's an up for the Texans so far in free agency. Colts. They didn't sign anybody, but they did extend fair share of their good talent. Zaire Franklin, that was a must. Grover Stewart, Romero Sanchez, punter, Michael Pittman was key. They're going to need to add another receiver, but Cool's there. Then Tyquan Lewis, Cool's there. So neutral, but yeah. Raiders. A unique approach so far for free agency. So they signed Gardner Minshew. They release Brian Hoyer. Perhaps they trade Jimmy G. They signed Christian Wilkins. So big piece next to Max Crosby. Andre James they re-signed, as well as Amir Abdullah. So, goes there. I'd say bit of an up for the Raiders. Broncos haven't done much so far. First couple days free agency. We'll see. They're likely going to draft QB, we know, and draft. But so far, they've signed PJ Locke from the Browns, and then Brandon Jones from the Dolphins. So, big stuff on defense. Same for the Chargers. Kind of felt that they were going to add a running back in free agency. Not necessarily the one we expected, although it makes sense. They signed Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards, we know, has been relatively steady in the Ravens' backfield for a number of years. Obviously, he spent some time with Greg Roman, who is now the offense coordinator in LA. So that's plus. Now, it looks like, barring they get another guy, it looks like Gus Edwards is going to be the big guy for the Chargers in the backfield, which we know he can go. So, yeah, cool's there. They did release Eric Hendricks, but, yeah. We'll see where he lands. Chiefs. They re-signed Chris Jones, the reigning champs, and to a big deal, 5-year, $95 million. And they signed Irv Smith Jr. So, back up to play behind Kelsey. Interesting. Eagles certainly have been active thus far. Signing Saquon Barkley. Barkley stays in the NFC East. Fletcher Cox, unfortunately, another cornerstone, has retired. Goes after 12 seasons. He had a hell of a run. Retires with a Super Bowl championship, at least from 2017. But yeah, goes there. Bryce Huff, who was underrated for the Jets last year. They add him on defense, paired with Brandon Graham, who they resigned. Since Kelsey retired, they have extended Landon Dickerson, who we know played center at Alabama. So we'll see how they fare on the O-line going forward. Commanders, I thought they did a heck of a job on the on and up in free agency. They signed Tyler Biadasz, Nick Allegretti, who, when Joe Thuney was out in the playoffs for the Chiefs, Allegretti fell right in at guard. Didn't do great, but he stayed steady and goes there. They signed Austin Eckler. help out with Brian Robinson. At running back, Marcus Mariota. Since it seems like Sam Howell's not the guy, so they signed Mariota, Dorrance Armstrong, and Dante Fowler, along with Jeremy Chin, young stud safety that played for the Panthers. So, goes there. Giants had some quality moves, so they signed Drew Lock, who it's going to be weird how they fare the quarterback situation this year. Yes, they lost Saquon. They signed Devin Singletary, who solid guy for a running back. He's not Saquon, but when healthy, but goes there. Then they traded and got Brian Burns. Real help on defense. Help with Azeez Ojulari and Kayvon Thibodeau. That front seven is looking pretty lethal so far. Vikings have been active thus far in free agency. Now, yes, they lost Kirk Cousins, but helping on defense, certainly, for one. They signed Van Ginkel. They signed Jonathan Grenard, Blake Cashman for the defense as he returns to play for Minnesota. Then on offense, they signed Sam Darnold. Yes, there's some idiots who are like, he's not going to be a starter, I don't think. They're going to draft a QB. Who knows who it's going to be, but we'll see. And then after the Packers release Aaron Jones, they signed him, who, when healthy, has been very solid. We'll see. We'll see. But I thought it's been up for the Vikings thus far. Packers. So they signed Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney, released David Bakhtiari. Interesting, but unique moves thus far. I'd say fairly neutral. Bears. So they signed DeAndre Swift and Kevin Byard. I thought those were wins thus far. To pair with Khalil Herbert. And yeah, Kevin Byard. Now, he didn't do much with the Eagles. And yes, he was bound to go from Titans. I'd say a slight, I don't know. I'd say it's a slight up. Lions, they signed Marcus Davenport, Carlton Davis via trade. I'd say neutral. Saints haven't really done much, but expected to visit with Chase Young this week, so we'll see. Bucks, they re-signed Baker, they re-signed Mike Evans, and then they re-signed Lavonte David. So I'd say neutral, but obviously it's very good for the Bucks to get all those guys re-signed. Falcons, obviously the two big ones, signing Kirk Cousins for 4 years, $180 million. And then he signed Darnell Mooney. I like it because, look, I know me and many others when it came to the Falcons regarding last year were like, they have a bunch of good young offensive talent on Atlanta. They just need a competent quarterback to be able to fit it all together. And now with Cousins and signing Mooney, who's a speedster, to pair with Big Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson in the backfield. You got Cornell Patterson. You got some good pieces on that team with a good O-line. So I'd say it's big up for the Atlanta Falcons. Rams, another team I thought had some good stuff, good moves in free agency. They signed Jonah Jackson, and then returning is Darius Williams. Matthew Stafford, key thing is keeping him upright. So to throw to Cooper Kupp, Higbee, Puka, etc. But some good moves thus far. I'm sure some will continue as we gear towards draft, but it's been fun so far for free agency. We'll see how it goes the rest of the way. But yeah, it's been crazy, but it's been fun. So yeah, we'll see how it goes going forward. But nonetheless, that is it for the video today. We'll see how it goes going forward. But nonetheless, thank you guys. Like or subscribe, leave a thumbs up. Thank you all. See you guys next time. I'm Joe to Love. See you guys and peace. Thank you all.